Hi everyone, Robin here. Thanks for joining me on Poppy Stamps. My project today features one of the many new stamps from Poppystamps spring release. The products I'll be using today are the big circle border layer die. I'll be using the Peony Stems and Blossoms stamp set with their coordinating die, and the big Halo Hello without the halo today. My front panel is a piece of Nina Solar White cut at 3 3/4 inches by 5.5. I'm adhering my die to my panel using some 3M removable tape. As you can see, the die cut really creates a nice pattern on the side of my panel, and I just flipped it around and I'm doing the same thing on the opposite side. My background panel is a piece of Lawn Fawn cilantro green. It's a great spring green, and I cut it at 5.5 by 4 1/4. Since I'm just a wee bit OCD, kind of like things straight, I'm going to draw a light 1/4 inch line down one side, which will help me keep my panel straight. To adhere my panel, I'm just using some dot runner. I find it helps when you have a lot of open areas on a panel to use the dots. And using my line, I can align my panel up and keep it straight, which makes me happy, happy, happy. And there's my front panel for my card. For the flowers, I decided to try some watercoloring again. I had so much fun a month or so ago with those daisies. I thought I'd do some more. I just placed them in my stamp positioner. And for today, I'm using the Memento Desert Sand. It's a very light ink and it is waterproof, so it's pretty good ink to use if you're going to use anything that is water-based. I like the light brown outline it gives the flowers. It's perfect for watercoloring. It's not a harsh line, but it's enough of a line for you to see where to color. I'm not using a lot of water with my brush today because I want to be sure I keep it in the lines, and just adding some water here and there to help push the color around. I am definitely speeding this up. I don't want to bore you with my watercoloring. I'm hoping to improve because I am taking a watercoloring class in a month or so. And hopefully I'll get some techniques that I can pass on to you. But for now, if you are interested in watercoloring, I highly recommend going to Christina Werner's blog. She is a genius with watercolors. What can I say? But what I am doing is I'm not working on the areas of my flower that are right next to each other all the time. I don't want the colors to bleed over. So I'm kind of skipping around here and there. I picked a green that will somewhat match my cilantro panel on my card front. And I was just quite pleased with how things turned out, adding a little green here and there. I'm not too concerned. I think anytime you make an effort to try something new, it always expands your horizons, and you never know what you'll find you are capable of doing. I am not the best watercolorer, but I'm very pleased with how this turned out. And I don't think the recipient of this card will care if I made a mistake or two. So using the coordinating die for the Peony Stems and Blossoms, I cut my images out. Sure saves a lot of time from the good old fussy cutting. And I am not the most patient person, so dies are the way to go for me. And once they're cut out, I think they look pretty good. I cut my Hello using Lawn Fawn's guava cardstock. I cut it 3 times, and I am using a Zig two-way glue pen. Okay, this is my new fave right now. This pen has a lot of glue in it, and the dots are a pretty good size, so you can either dot it on or roll it on. For a die cut that is this thin, I think putting the dots on is probably the better way to go. I know in the past I have used my spray glue. I haven't thrown it out. I'm still using it, but I like using new products for me. I think this pen's been out a while. I think it worked out quite well. Anyway, I put my clear acrylic block on it and allowed to dry. On my front panel, I decided to add a piece of platinum vellum to the front just to break the background up a bit. I cut my panel at 2 1/4 inches by about 6 1/2 inches. I also tried the glue pen out on the vellum. You know, with vellum it's hard to find a glue that doesn't come through to the front, and so far this seems to have worked out quite well. I put a heavy object on it and allowed to dry. Once dry, I merely turn my panel over and trim the excess off with a pair of scissors. If you are unsure of using the scissors, you could always put your panel in a cutter and trim the excess that way, but the scissors work out well. Since my front panel was done, it was time to arrange my flowers and my Hello sentiment. At this point, I decided it was lacking something, and I decided to use a sentiment from the Sentiments of Hello stamp set. I decided to emboss my sentiment since I was using vellum, and what I do for a static powder is I do have the static powder tool, but I dump the powder that's in the tool in an old blush container, and I use a very large blush brush to apply, and for me that works out really well. I can cover a very large surface in a short amount of time. Here I'm using Versamark and I'm inking up my stamp. Just a note to say, and then at the bottom I'll have my hello. I really like that. So once I have my Versamark on, I'm going to use some Wendy Vecchi. Believe it or not, the name of it is Peony, so I'm keeping a peony theme here, but it's such a pretty pink to go with my card. It was perfect. So doing my usual dry run, I added my flowers to the card and plopped my hello in, see how it would all go. Decided my flowers needed to come down a bit, and I wanted to move the peony around just a bit. So when I was happy, I used a pencil, put it right under the stem, and just a little dot under the upper leaf. That way I'd know right where to put it. And I'm going back to my liquid glue in my glue bottle. That's the PBA glue again, polyvinyl acrylic. They use it in bookbinding. And finding my dots on the vellum, added that. And I decided to tuck the other stem behind the one leaf, but I brought out the lower bud on top. Just gave it a little dimension. I really liked how it went together. I added glue on that, added my acrylic block, allowed to dry. The vellum has a slight shimmer to it. I'm sure that's why it's called platinum vellum. The hello was added using the two-way glue pen again. I did the little dots on the back, positioned on the front, moved it around a little bit. Like I said, it doesn't dry immediately, but I put my acrylic block on top and allowed to dry. Once dry, it's time to add my panel to the front of my card. It's a standard A2 top folding card base. I just line up the bottom, make sure the top's even, and stick it down. I wanted to add some clear drops to the top of my card, so I decided to do an experiment to make sure which one would dry super clear. So I'm using the Ranger Glossy Accents, the Nuvo Crystal Drops, and Judican's Diamond Glaze. I always wondered how well they dried, if they dried clear or if they had a tone to them. Sometimes you just want clear. Well, here's the result. Ranger and Judican's both have a slight yellow tinge to them, and the tonic did not, so I think I'll be using the tonic. They're very easy to apply, and what I like is they form a nice round dot that doesn't require any tapping to help that little peak settle down that you get on other products. Thanks for stopping by today. I hope you enjoyed my tutorial, and don't forget to check out Poppystamp Spring Release. Thanks for stopping by, and I hope you come back again soon. Bye-bye.